Well, I was tagged in a coffee movie tag by Mariana or Impression Blend. Wonderful YouTuber, simply brilliant. Love her reviews, love her comments. She does books, movies, television shows. She's a huge Game of Thrones fan, and she tagged anybody who loves coffee, and I'm certainly within that group. So thank you for the tag, and I'm looking forward to doing this video. So the coffee tag basically ties in coffee and movies. So if you love coffee and you love movies, perfect. But even if you don't love coffee and just love movies, you can still do the coffee tag. And I'm going to tag some folks at the end of this video, and I'd like to see what you come up with. So here's the first question. Black coffee. A favorite movie of yours doesn't have to be your absolute favorite, but just a favorite movie of yours that's really hard for other people to get into or even for you to get into. And for this one, I'm going to match up with Mariana's choice because I think it's really the brilliant choice in this case. And I would totally agree with what she chose. So uh, her choice was, and my choice is Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. Great film, really a wonderful film with lots of people who love it. But let's face it, it is tough to get into this movie. There are some things that the first couple times you watch it, it's a little difficult to get into. You may not fully grasp everything, and I'm still not sure I fully grasp everything. But as I've watched it more and more over the years, I have a greater appreciation for it than I did, say, the first few times when I was much younger watching it. So that's the movie that I choose for Black Coffee. Next up is Peppermint Coffee. This is a favorite Christmas movie. Maybe not your absolute favorite Christmas movie, but one that is a favorite of yours, one that you maybe always watch at the holiday time or really look forward to watching whenever it's the holidays. So I've got two that I'm going to go with. The first one I really love, and the second one I always watch. So the first one is Bill Murray in Scrooged. I love this movie. It's a great role for Bill Murray. He kind of plays a bastard in it. He's this tough TV executive trying to produce a network show, and he just steps on people left and right. But finally, just like Scrooge, he gets visited by some ghosts and he sees the light. And he realizes that, you know what, there's more to life than television shows and television ratings. And in doing so, he reconnects with people, and really, it's just a good feeling movie without being maudlin or sappy or anything. And my other one is an all-time favorite, also at Christmas time, and that is A Christmas Story. And who can't forget the story of the little boy who just wants a Red Ryder BB gun, but whose parents and everybody seems like tells him he shouldn't have it. But there's more with it. There's the Bumpuses next door and the Thanksgiving dinner that they're going to have, and uh, just everything about this movie, it reminds me of my childhood and kids I knew growing up. The scene where the little boy puts his tongue on a double dare, or actually a triple dog dare. He sticks his tongue on the cold pole, and absolutely your tongue will stick to one of those. I don't recommend it. I've never done it personally, but I have seen somebody do it. Not as bad as in that movie, but it was pretty nasty nonetheless. Anyway, great movie. Watch it every Christmas time. Really love it. A Christmas Story. Next is Hot Chocolate or Hot Cocoa. One of your favorite children's movies, and by children's movie, it could be animated. It could be one that's mainly made for kids, but certainly one that children would enjoy. So you could pick The Wizard of Oz here if that's your favorite, or something like it. But in my case, I did go with an animated movie, and I went with The Lion King. I love Disney's The Lion King. I love everything about it. It's an epic story. It's a coming of age story. There's wonderful music in it. There's comedy. I think it's one of the better Disney movies that have been produced ever. Certainly in the last 40 years or 30 years. It's really a classic, and I love it. Next up is the Double Espresso, a movie that had you on the edge of your seat for the entire movie. And, for me, there's a lot of them that really had me on the edge of my seat, but none more so than Jaws. That's right, Jaws. When I first saw this movie from the very beginning until the very end. I was on the edge of my seat. I never knew when the shark was going to come back again. And anytime anybody was near the water, or which is the whole movie, because it was a coastal town, I was ready for something to happen. And sure enough, a lot of things happened in that movie, and it was a lot of suspense right up until the very end. So for me, Jaws, the great Peter Benchley story, directed by Steven Spielberg, is mine. Next, Starbucks Coffee, a movie that you've seen way too many times, just because like Starbucks is all over the place. So the movie that I've seen, I don't know about way too many times, but certainly I've seen it a lot, and maybe I love it almost a little too much, is A Few Good Men. I know every line in this movie, I think, at least all the key ones. I love Tom Cruise in this movie. I love Jack Nicholson in this movie. I like Demi Moore in this movie. I love Kiefer Sutherland in this movie. Kevin Bacon. Really, the cast is just great. And there's so many great lines in this movie. You've all seen the movie, I'm sure. Just a wonderful movie. I've seen it a ton of times. Anytime it's on television and I am flipping through the dials, I'm stopping and watching it. I've put it on the Blu-ray I don't know how many times. I own the VHS, the DVD. I've seen every incarnation of this movie you can. A Few Good Men. I love it. Okay, next one is the Hipster Coffee Shop. So, and this one, give an indie film a shout out. This film that I've recently seen, I don't own it, but I've watched it, is, and I will probably buy it, is Borgman. This is a Swedish movie, and it's an indie film, I believe. It is, I don't know how to explain this movie. It's the story of a vagrant who ends up kind of getting himself involved with a family, and particularly the mother, who feels sorry for him at first and then becomes attracted to him in some odd way. It's a tale of good and evil. I'm not sure who Borgman is, but certainly he could be the devil, or he could be, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's one of those movies where you've got to watch it and you come away with your own conclusions. But I highly recommend you do so. It's a great indie film. There's a touch of horror in this thing. There's a touch of like, good versus evil, like I said. So I would highly recommend you watch Borgman. Next, Oops, You Got Decaf. This is a movie that disappointed you. Maybe something you were really looking forward to seeing. Now, the obvious choices here would be Star Wars, but I'm going to go with The Amazing Spider Man 2. I own this one, and I don't hate it, but I was disappointed by it. I really wanted it to be more than it was. I thought Electro would be a good character. I thought the first Amazing Spider Man was pretty decent. They have the story of Gwen Stacy uh, and Peter Parker kind of coming to its conclusion. It was wonderful in the comic books, but it felt rushed in the movie. And I really felt like they could have concentrated on that story more than the Electro story. Or just talked about the Electro story and not had that part. They just tried to do too much, I think. And it just didn't work for me. It's a good movie. It's not what I wanted it to be. And so that would be my disappointment. The next one's called The Perfect Blend. This is a movie that is bittersweet, but somehow left you perfectly satisfied at the end. And for me, it's going to be Bicycle Thieves, a film by Vittorio De Sica. This is a post war Italy film in Rome where jobs were scarce, and a man whose whole future is riding on his ability to have a job, which he needs a bicycle to do it, and his bicycle is stolen. So the film then, from there, takes on searching for the bike, trying to get it back so he can keep his job, trying to find the thief that took it, and the title Bicycle Thieves is perfect for the movie. It is a bittersweet ending, I can tell you that. There is the sense of perhaps uh, hope, or at least uh, feeling like the right thing has been done. Let's just say that. And I think the movie has some element of pride at the end, and yet also some not everything's happy. Let's put it that way. Next up, Coffee with Your Sugar. Maybe this is a movie you love a little bit too much. For me, and this is the Steelbook edition, of The Shawshank Redemption. I love Stephen King books and short stories. This particular movie by Frank Darabont, I believe, yeah, uh, was wonderfully done. And really, I love this movie. I think there are so many great scenes in it that are emotional for me, that really, kind of tug at the heartstrings, or make me feel like, what a great moment that was in the film, and for these guys that are imprisoned, many of them wrongfully, or so it would seem, or at least they're not being treated, even for prisoners, they're not being treated the way they should be. The warden is corrupt, the guards are corrupt, the system is corrupt, and people are despondent except for one, and he's our hero. And there's great moments like when the convicts get to have a beer up on the roof because he's asked them to be able to have a beer. And great narration in this movie. Uh, just a wonderful job by Morgan Freeman. Tim Robbins, of course, plays the lead character, the title, not the title character, the lead character. Uh, Originally, the story was called, oh boy, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. That's the name of the story. And Rita Hayworth plays a role as a pinup. But the whole movie is well done. Everything about it I like. I love the ending. I love the alternate ending that you can get on the Blu-ray. Really, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've seen it I don't know how many times, and another one I'll watch anytime it's on. So, The Shawshank Redemption. The last category is Say No to Starbucks or Friends Don't Let Others uh, Go to Starbucks. This is a movie you've told others to avoid or would tell others to avoid. And for me, it is The Exorcist to The Heretic. What a great first movie. It is my favorite horror movie, the first and original Exorcist. But The Exorcist 2, although it had some promise, just really botched things up. All the magic from the first one was lost, in my opinion, in the second one. Richard Burton, I don't think he was the right guy for the role. The plot was sort of convoluted. It tried to go back in the past and show Father Merrin and his battle from years earlier, and talk about that and the connections between that battle and Reagan in the original Exorcist. But it didn't work for me. The characters didn't work in this. I didn't think Linda Blair was nearly as good in this as she was in the first one. In fact, she was far more wooden of a character, in my opinion. Just didn't like it at all, and I would recommend staying away from The Heretic 2. I've only seen it once in my life, so I've stayed away from it too. I may revisit it at some point just to see if it's as bad as I remember, but it I've seen it. I've sat through it once in its entirety, and I've come across it. Obviously, flicking through the channels over the years, whether it be on Showtime or HBO or wherever I saw it. And in any event, I don't recommend it. So, yeah. Okay, now for some of my tags. I'd like to see what you guys come up with. The first tag I'm going to do is Absolute Sublime One. I haven't seen you do many tag related ones, so I really like to see what you come up with on this. I'd be interested. And I'd like to hear if you like coffee too. I love coffee, so it was an easy one for me to kind of get into. But even if you don't like coffee, you can still go with the themes. I'd like to see Channel Donstar do one. He's been making a lot of interesting videos. I'd love to hear his opinion on this and hear what movies kind of fit into his categories for those types of movies. I'll challenge Kubrick Lover, and I'll put all these tags somewhere in my comments. I like to see what Kubrick Lover does with it. I'd also like to tag Aaron Pinn. I'd be curious to see Aaron's responses. I'm going to tag Cool Duder. I haven't commented on Sean's posts lately, but I used to comment quite a bit on his stuff. I usually watch it though. So Sean, I don't know how many of these things you respond to, but I'm hopeful you'll respond to this one and that you'll do this. Might as well do Wet Movie 1 while I'm at it. I also watch his movies quite a lot, or his videos quite a lot. So I'm trying to pick guys that I know will do videos like this. Will respond to this. I know a lot of other guys that have some great channels, but they usually don't do this type of thing. I'll take a chance and see if Falagar will do one. He's been kind of doing some other stuff lately, but I'll see if Sammy will step up and do one of these. I'd be curious to see if he would do it. Um, I'd also like to tag Karate Popcorn. I'd really like to see what Robin comes up with on this. And Trey Passer, another guy I'd like to really see what he'd come up with. And Dennis Reviews, who close it out with him. And so hopefully some or all of you will do a response to this. I'd love to see them. If you do, if you wouldn't mind leaving the link to your video on my video here, so I'll know you did one, and I'll be happy to go out and watch it. I'd love to see it. I will leave a link to this video on the Impression Blend page, and hopefully, that will go over well there. Hopefully, she enjoys the video that I made. All right, guys. Dean of DVD. It's a little bit of a long one, maybe, but hopefully you enjoyed it. The coffee movie tag. Those that I tagged, I look forward to it. And Mariana, hopefully you enjoyed mine. And again, thank you, Mariana, for tagging me and for making a great video. Thanks. Take care, guys.